the woods and do that. So, oh, this meeting is being live streamed. Got it.
Oh yeah, got it.
I'm letting you chew right now.
Oh, we're live on YouTube now. Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Again. So where's that? Got it.
Wait, what do you got?
I'm just opening the chat box up.
All right. We're live, you know.
I know. I think that's the chat box.
What I do?
Okay, Phil, how do I go in? Cool. That's right. Just because I've changed the Phil, I can't hear a word.
Well, I'm Phil, and Phil will be here eventually, waiting for him.
And I'm Phil.
Welcome to the Phil and Phil Show.
Another
fun-filled, packed love episode, where we control every aspect of your life.
I don't think that's quite right, darling.
That's not our tagline?
No, I think our tagline needs to be, I create it all.
I create it all.
I didn't realize I created it all, so therefore I try and create it all. Create it all. Control it all. It's an interesting one, isn't it? From create to control. So in function, it's create, and in dysfunction, it's control, right?
Right.
So when we're out of balance, we go into control. So it's a control thing. So
we're in these times where, you know, people living naturally as domestic terrorists feel like they have no control over what's going on and feeling helpless. That's kind of what we were talking about before we went on the show. We're like, let's get on the show. So
yeah, so Phil, you brought up the subject, didn't you, about being not being, but having the experience of feeling helpless over what's going on.
Right.
And then do you remember you went on to say something? I said, right, let's just get on the show because it's actually really good. It's really important to talk about this stuff, actually.
Yeah. Are you hungry there, Phil? What are you eating? Apples.
Apple. I just got a little bit left in my bowl. A bit of apple. A bit
dates.
of a few dates. And then in here, so I've been out today. I've been on a class today doing to do with coloured mirrors. We've been clearing loads of stuff, and lots of this stuff came up when we were clearing. Right. And that's my flask of tea that I took with me.
So I get it. So on the macrocosm of the world, there's a lot of controls being put into place right now that are restricting people. I mean, we've all, you know, I mean, we all know that, you know, kind of for a long time, you know, us peasants, us humans in these roles were being kind of under control from the government for a long time. And right now it's kind of been more in our face and we're seeing it. And especially with certain things like bodily autonomy choices, you know, it's tricky. So I get that on a greater level, it's like, well, we're not that. But when it comes to something, it's like, it's hard, right? It comes to something physical where they're like, well, you can't work unless you do this, you know, unless you do this procedure. And so on one level, it's like, we know that we're infinite consciousness. And in the same level, we're living in this physical plane where there are these regulations and restrictions that appear to make it feel like we can't live fully.
So ultimately, who is it that's making us so we can't live fully?
Right? Well, we are, right?
We are the creator, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are the creator and the creatress. We create it all. We create everything. So we're also in a time of inversion, right? Where the good will become evil, the evil will become good. The righteous will be wrong and the wrong will be righteous. And everything's flipped 180 degrees around.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, it's like we are, not everybody, but a lot of us are creating from the negative. So we're creating negative experiences. And those are from unresolved, not necessarily trauma, but learned behaviors that don't serve us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when we're growing up, it's monkey see, monkey do, right? So we
Right.
watch our parents, we watch our parents' friends, we watch our siblings, and we copy them. And the prime example for you and I, Phil, is watching our dads as we're growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the belief is, so that's how I'm supposed to behave when I'm an adult.
Right.
So
Or
then we
our
start,
teachers, or
yeah. So then we start,
leaders.
and it's real in the early days. It's our dads, because that's the only person, right? It's our mums and our dads. So
Right.
for the boys, we look up to our dads to they're our role model, right? In the beginning, in the very early days, it's like, oh, I'm a boy, he's my dad, that's how I'm supposed to act and behave when I grow up.
Right.
So we start to copy that behavior, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, right? We copy that behavior.
Right.
And of course, if it's a negative, low vibration behavior, then we're going to attract all sorts of negative, low vibration experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So a part of us is a lot of us is learned behavior. So we're learning how to react, respond, create in the world.
Right.
And of course, if our peers and the people that we're looking up to aren't giving us particularly good examples,
right, mm-hmm.
then our behavior is not particularly of a good standard, right?
Right.
That's a judgment, but it's like,
yeah.
Does that behavior bring us joy? Does that behavior bring other people around us joy? Is it getting us what we want in our life, or is it not getting us what we want in our life?
Right.
So then because once we start to feel, we get we then learn how not to how if it's really painful to feel, we start to learn how not to feel. So then what we'll do is, you've done this to me, you're doing this to me. All anyone's ever doing is showing you what's inside of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then what we start to do is we start to control the way other people treat us. We start to control our environment.
Mm-hmm.
We start to say, you can't behave like that, you can't speak to me like this, you can't do that, you can't do the other. When you do that to me, I feel like this, so stop doing it. So that's control.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's control. Then we learn to milk and manipulate people, behaviors, situations. That's right. Control. More control. So we get to feel what we want to feel, or we get to feel what we don't, or we don't get to feel what we don't want to feel. Does that make sense? We don't get to feel. We don't get to feel what we don't want to feel. I've purposely said it in the negative because that's the aim. the aim is not to feel those really uncomfortable feelings. So we're going to control everybody and everything around us so we don't have to feel on any level.
But we're suppressing any feelings whatsoever. So even we can't find joy in that. So we're trying to block out that, and then you get no joy either, because that's all you're focused on.
You get no joy because all your focus is on control.
Right.
And through control, you can't get joy.
Right.
You just get kind of less pain. But of course, it doesn't work, because you're getting on another level, you're getting more pain because you're getting numb. You're not really getting interactions with people. It's all superficial. Because of the pain, the fear of the pain.
Mm-hmm.
So the challenge is to kind of hit that pain head on and really understand what's going on. So and then clear it, which is what we've been doing with Colored Mirrors this weekend. Is we've been.
So on the grander scheme of what people are feeling, pretty much mass consciousness, probably because we need to go through this, is the government, this politician, my employer, my doctor did this to me, or they created this situation where I can't do these things. And that's, again, it's that we're giving away there's that power to authority, but I can't be happy because this, or because I need to be scared of what the media said I need to be scared of. So we've given that power away to all those levels of authority figures. And we know it started from the parents, and then the schooling, and it's like, sit still, show up, do this. And then we've just expanded that out to all these other people that we've put our happiness is dependent on them telling us when we can be happy, kind of thing. Is that kind of what you're saying a little bit?
Yeah. School's a prime example. School and what's going on right now is a prime example, right? We've been trained to sit down, shut up, and don't ask any questions.
Right.
And do as you're told. So we've been entrenched with that. I spent 11 years with that. Sit down, shut up, do as you're told, don't ask questions.
Right.
And
anyone who slightly tries to go above that, it gets called a rebel or a troubled child, or they get labeled. They don't want to be in that, and they're kind of probably more conscious, or they have more. It may be from their parents, so they have more of a rogue spirit, and then that gets like suppressed in that school environment, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually, Phil, because with my mum and dad, for example, my dad wanted me to, go to school and be very successful. My mum, on the other hand, wanted me to be free and to stay spirited. So bless them, there was always that kind of battle for them. Mm-hmm. My mum wanted me to run naked in the woods and be myself. And my dad wanted me to have short back and sides and shorts and, go and do what he didn't get a chance to do, right? Go and get an education and be successful. So on a level, he had my best interests at heart, but of course, that's not my freedom. That's not me being me. And also with my mum, bless her, when she was pregnant with me, she ate nearly all just raw food. Mm-hmm. Through her pregnancy, she craves raw food with me.
Right.
So what she would do is, when she was preparing food, she would eat it all raw before she cooked everyone else's. Nice. But she only did it with me.
Interesting.
So it's
there's a karmic thing going on there, right?
So there's no surprise, right? That and she wanted me to run in the wood, get barefoot and be natural and run in the woods.
Right.
So here I am, eating raw food, getting barefoot, getting out in the woods when I can.
Right.
So no surprise there. And of course, then when I was at school, my brain was completely wired differently to everybody else's. So my brain was all about nature. It was all about what was outside the window. It was all about what was moving. It was not about sitting quietly in a classroom with a bunch of other kids learning shit I didn't want to learn about.
Right.
That had no interest in me.
And for me at school, I almost thought there was something wrong with me. I hated school. I didn't want to be there, but I wasn't like intellectual enough to understand what that meant. I just knew I didn't like it.
Me too.
There was bullies there, and the teachers were boring, not inspiring. It's just like, and I'm like, what? What is this? I wanted to be out on my bike or in the woods.
Well, for me, I just experienced life in a prison.
It was pain. Yeah.
Yeah, I just experienced suffering when I was there. Mm-hmm. And well, I'm going to say until I got used to it, but I'm guessing until I numbed out.
Right. So in that, right, so we've got these things. We're born into this system, right? Because what we're trying to do is overcome this. We're born in the system, and there's no way out of the physical matrix. We're here. We're on this plane. There's these societal constructs. I mean, even if you totally run away to a monastery in the mountains, there's still some dependency on the system for that monastery to exist. There's no way to totally escape. So it's there. We're living in that. So it's so in that, all those controls, finding happiness and peace, but at the same time not complying to the games. And if that means you lose your job, or if you we have to so it's like, we question, like, why is everybody just complying? And it's like, people are complying because it's the comfortable thing to do. And I think the more of us to say, no, we're not complying, and we're going to follow our inner spirit, our inner love. We're going to follow that. But it feels like it's harder to do that,
But of course, because it's about control, right?
Right.
Yeah. Ultimately, this is all about control. I don't want you to do that because I don't, to just think of it on a smaller scale. I don't want you to do that because I feel hurt. Mm-hmm. How often have you heard someone say, oh, well, you said this and you said that, and I felt really hurt by it.
Right.
So does that mean that I'm the all-powerful being that owns your emotions and feelings? Oh, hang on a second. No. You can have that power back, and you can own that experience. You can own that feeling of being scared. You can own that feeling. That's empowerment. Right.
And it's not to say that you're the person who gave the abuse is innocent either. But it's us finding our individual sovereignty to overcome that. Because we're all say mean things, or we insult people and maybe upset them, but ultimately it comes back to us to overcome that energy.
Phil, we never say mean things. We never upset anybody. That's impossible.
It's people's triggers, right? But
people experience it as being mean. People experience it as being horrible.
Okay.
But it's only because it's received by that person that way.
Okay. Well, maybe. So, but you still know when so say and you're like, oh, shoot, I was really mean to that person. So whatever it was, you got angry at somebody. So
then what would I be feeling in that moment, right? If I felt that I was really mean and unkind to someone, what would I be feeling? The chances are I'd actually be feeling guilty.
Right. So you need immediate forgiveness for your maybe missing the mark and move on, right?
I don't think we ever miss the mark.
Okay. You don't think so?
No. I don't think we ever miss the mark. I think we're always spot on.
Well, let's take an extreme example. You go out there and you kill somebody.
So why would they create that in their lives? Why would you need to? Why would the individuals need to experience that?
Okay, but you too. It's both people need to experience something.
So I said, why would they?
Right.
Why would they need to co-create that and experience that?
I think that's what I was getting back to there. You got it. It's like you were just saying, it's all that. It's both people have to experience something.
Okay, I'll tell you a little story, Phil, because this for me sums it all up, because it was an accident and it's not an extreme, right? I'd been somewhere with my dad and I was sat at a junction and I wanted to go straight on. Mm-hmm. So I was sat in the middle lane, 3 lanes, I was sat in the middle lane, and there was a guy on a motorbike on this lane, car this lane, right?
Mm-hmm.
All three of us sat at the traffic lights. The guy on the bike was sat next to us, revving it up. And I was like, wow, that's going to go in a minute. And the traffic lights went green.
Mm-hmm.
So he just gently took off from the traffic lights. The next thing, this car had come through the traffic lights on red, hit him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 30 miles an hour, hit this guy on this motorbike.
Oh, gee. Wow. Mm-hmm.
I know. Get the story right. He went straight up in the air, right up in the air. The motorbike went 30 or 40 yards back down the road where she was coming from, right? This guy went up in the air. He went right up in the air. While he was in the air, he went high enough to turn himself around, put his knees up to his chest, and land with his back on the bonnet of the car with his head through the windscreen. He slid off the bonnet and he kind of crouched like that with one knee on the floor, and then he got up and was like, oh, and he took his helmet off and I was just like, oh my God, he's fine. He's absolutely okay. So
right.
I left the van where it was. I ran over, he was fine. He went to the van and started talking to my dad and was like, well, who is he? And Dad said, oh, it's Phil. He's like, Phil. He said, Phil Grist. He said, I know him from somewhere. Anyway, I got his bike with someone else and stuck it on the side. The girl's car was smashed to pieces. All the airbags had gone off. She came out the car, a complete and utter trembling mess, going, I thought I'd killed him. I could just see him coming through the windscreen. I thought he was dead. So she was an absolute emotional mess. Mm-hmm. He just said to my dad, he said, well, I'm just gonna roll a fag. He said, I'm gonna go home and have a bath, and later on tonight I'll find out what's broken or not.
Right.
He said, it's just one of them things. But the interesting thing was, so I'm just trying to get the story right now. So anyway, I was with her, took her to the curb, sat with the curb and started processing her, talking to her, where have you been? What have you been doing? And she was shaking and crying, and she was a mess.
Right.
Physically, nothing wrong with her. So anyway, I got talking to her. It always makes me smile, this does. So if ever you watch this lady, I'm really sorry. And she's so I said to her, so where have you been? And she was like, oh, I've just been on a mindfulness course. And I just pissed myself laughing. At the time, on a level totally inappropriate, like I was wetting myself laughing. And I've just said, well, it wasn't a very mindful thing to do, was it? Going through a red traffic light. And she's like, oh, and I said, look, you weren't being mindful. You were back in the classroom, reliving the experience of being mindful. That's not mindfulness. You weren't mindful driving your car.
Right.
And anyway, sat processing her for a while. And then the police lady came along, and there were two police ladies came along, and they were doing their thing. And I just said, she said, oh, I really want you to get in the car. I said, she's not getting in the car with you until you tell me that you're actually going to look after her. So I wouldn't let the police take her until I was convinced that the police lady was actually going to wrap her in a blanket, let her shake, let her do it. Because I sat with the girl while she was shaking, right? So I was allowing her to shake out her process.
Right. Yeah.
And everyone else just wanted to stop it. And I'm like, no, she's just shaking. She needs to shake. She needs to process it out. Mm-hmm. So the police lady got a blanket, and I put the blanket around the girl and sat with her and was just talking it out with her. And then eventually the police lady said, I need to take her. I need to take her in the car. And I was like, well, you've got to be kind to her. You've got to look after her. So they took her away, put her in the car. Then, I went back and spoke to the lad. So she was late, right? She wasn't supposed to be there at that moment in time. The lad that got hit on a motorbike had been working in Norfolk or somewhere. Let's say Norfolk, it doesn't really matter. And so he was 3 hours away from home on his little old bike that really wasn't very, it wasn't a big bike. It was just a little bike for pootling around town. So he'd come back to fix his big bike. So the bike that he was on was only firing on 3 cylinders and not 4.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't supposed to be there. He was supposed to be in Norfolk working. He wasn't supposed to be in Whitney, in our local town, fixing his motorbike. But he'd come back to town to fix his bike.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, if my bike would have been firing on all 4 cylinders, there's no way she'd have took me out. She wouldn't have hit me, he said. It's because the bike was limping and injured. And, you know, I was just nursing it to the garage to get a spark plug. She wasn't supposed to be there, right? She was late for a meeting, and he was supposed to be in Norfolk.
Right.
So the universe, or their souls, had to conspire a lot to get those two people to meet in that moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, that meeting was completely wasted, because she's going to go to court for reckless driving and get points on a license and get done. I think I didn't hear from him, but I think he's all right. He's like, he just shook it off and walked off from the accident.
Right.
So she got to experience what it was like to think she'd killed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
He got the experience of thinking he was going to die and walked away.
Mm-hmm.
So she got away without killing anybody, but she had because she thought he was dead. So she had the experience of what it was like to kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that moment in time, they both had the exact opposite. He had that moment in time where he was potentially dead. She had that moment in time where she killed him.
Mm-hmm.
He got up and walked away, but she still experienced what it was like to kill somebody in that moment in time. He wasn't supposed to be there, and nor was she. So there was a lot of conspiring going on to get those two people to meet at that nanosecond of time in that place.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we have no idea why they met at that moment in time, because, like I said, he went home, she went to the police station.
Right. But we know it was perfect, though.
Exactly. Perfect. What either of them experienced was exactly what they needed to experience. Now, when I had a crash 20 odd years ago, I was coming home from somewhere and I was at a junction and I knew I was going to have a crash. I sat at this junction and I knew I was going to have a crash. So I reversed back down the road and phoned my friend. She didn't answer. I phoned home. She didn't. They didn't answer. I phoned my sister. She didn't answer. And I'm like, shit, I know I'm going to have a crash. You know, what do I do? So I couldn't talk.
You were going to have a crash.
I knew I was going to, if I pulled out of that junction, I was going to have a crash.
Okay.
So I got to the junction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got to the junction and I knew I was going to have a crash. So I reversed back from the junction into a gateway and phoned 3 or 4 people.
Right.
To talk to them about it, because I knew this was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't get anyone, couldn't talk to anyone. And I'm like, oh, don't be silly, Phil. You know, you're going to be all right. So I drove up to the junction, looked, and it's just like, man, this is too much. So I reversed back and I went onto the junction at an angle so I could go down a slip road and come out onto the road. Just as I turned out onto the road, I heard a squealing of brakes. And I was like, oh my God, now what do I do? Do I brake? Do I stop? Do I keep going? So I just took all my feet off the controls and gently rolled across the road. And this guy came, he went around my van and I watched his car go down the road in a ditch, along the hedge, against the wall. It ripped his bonnet off, his boot off, his doors off, smashed all of the glass. Whoa. And every glass was smashed. My front of my van was bent, and you know, and I just got out of my van and ran down the road to him and like, oh, you know, and he got out and walked away and we were both fine. Mm-hmm. Now he said, this isn't even my bloody car. He said, it's my wife's car and I'm not even supposed to be here. And I tried to avoid the accident 3 times. Mm-hmm. So I created all of that stuff so I could hit that bloke at that moment. You know, well, we both created all of that stuff so we could crash at that moment in time.
Right.
And from that was the moment I woke up and started my personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
The police, at the time I was just a normal builder back then, and the police turned up and they said, well, was he nailing it? And I said, well, you can see the skid marks in the state of his car. You're the copper. You tell me. Of course he was nailing it because he was late. He was late. So me and that guy had conspired clearly somewhere or another to have that moment in time so we could learn something, right?
Right.
Mine was, if I didn't wake up at this time, I was going to die. I was frightened of dying because I knew I needed to change, but I didn't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the moment of me waking up. So, what a favor we did. I don't know what he got from it, but,
right.
22 years on,
mm-hmm.
my consciousness has changed completely. And I'm sharing this information with people all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have been a victim. Oh, he hit me. It was his fault. But how can you say that when you have foreseen an accident and you've had 3 attempts to avoid it and phoned 3 people?
Right.
How could it possibly be his fault?
Right.
In the eyes of the law, it was his fault.
Right.
So in the end, because it was a bit of a tricky junction, and the best of it was, I never used that junction before in my life. I nearly always use a junction that was 2 miles up the road with traffic lights. I never ever used that junction. Bizarre, right?
Yeah.
But from that impact and in that moment in time, my life changed forever. Because I listened to what it was about. I didn't blame him. So we did in the end, interestingly enough, the copper said, well, should we, you're right for calling it 50-50. And I said, yeah, I can do that because it was a bad junction. The road was a bit damp, so he couldn't have really stopped that well anyway. So yeah, okay. And of course it was 50-50 because we were co-creating, right?
That's pretty brave because you could have blamed it all on him. Yeah.
But I knew I was going to have a crash.
Right.
I didn't foresee it all, but I did all I could to not crash that day, and I still crashed. So I knew that my destiny was to wake up.
Right.
Out of that coma of life. And that's exactly what that gift did for me. So, can anything actually be anybody's fault? So here's another little story about it, Phil. This one isn't such a good outcome. When I was 10 years old, my cousins came to stay. My one cousin I was 10, my other cousin was 8, and his brother was 6. And he'd said to his mum about a week before, he's like, Mum, when I die, will I go to heaven? And my auntie said, well, I would think so. I don't. So he talked about death and dying for a whole week. And my sister had a dream that he was going to die. And when he came to stay with us, we were in our front garden. And then our village was a very quiet little village. And we were playing with little aeroplanes in the drive. And of course, they kept going over the front wall onto the road, and we'd run out onto the road and get the aeroplanes and bring them back in. And Mum's like, Phil, this isn't safe. One of you is going to get hurt or killed or something. Why don't you go down the playing field where you're going to be safe? An hour later, he was dead. He fell off of a slide.
Oh my.
He knew that he was going to go to heaven. He knew it was his time.
Right.
We did all we could to keep him safe.
Right.
Interesting, isn't it?
Oh, you experienced that. That's pretty intense.
He stopped breathing in my arms.
10-year-old.
He stopped breathing in my arms, Phil, when I was 10.
Wow.
Mega. Have I had to do some work on that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've shed many tears over many years for him and that experience, you know, and of course what I had from that was guilt. What if I'd done this? What if I'd done that? You know, I had loads of guilt. Oh, it was my fault. You know, I should have known better. So we get all these residues left from all this stuff.
The traumas, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ah, absolutely. And you know, and that is a really traumatic experience for a young boy to deal with, right? But clearly it was the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we're trying to do is control. We're going to go back to control now. We're controlling. This is right. That's wrong. That shouldn't have happened. This should have happened. I should have done this. I should have done that. It's his fault. It's my fault. It's their fault. It's all control.
Well, the interesting thing, just throw in a little thing here. The examples you've given was we weren't supposed to be there. And there are times where maybe there's no way to avoid it, but there are times maybe we could avoid it, because if we have the thing, I wasn't supposed to be there, maybe you weren't too, you know, but maybe, I don't know.
Well, you know, that's where the universe, our souls conspire for these meetings.
Right.
And I've used these examples because they're soft examples, Phil. Mm-hmm. I don't want to trigger the shit out of people and for them to go, because that's not my job, right?
Right.
It's to give examples, and then from those examples, hopefully, as our consciousness raises, we can see these situations and go, oh, wow, actually, what happened there?
Right.
And could have I avoided it? Of course you could, in theory and in left brain, but in reality, you didn't avoid it, therefore you couldn't avoid it.
Right. Okay.
So that's control. If I'd have done X, Y, and Z, that wouldn't have happened. Well, of course it fucking wouldn't if you did done X, Y, and Z, but you didn't. You did the action.
Yeah.
Why did you do that action? Why were you drawn to do that action? You know, what's your agreement? But you know, this is really kind of high consciousness, right? This isn't this isn't blame. This is taking total responsibility for everything that you experience.
Yeah, and it's way above, like, we're not like arguing that, if you know, it's another level. It's like on the physical dualistic plane, there is, well, he hit me, it's his fault, all those things. There is that level that exists.
Of course.
So I think what we're trying to do is evolve it to another level where it's like, all right, well, shit happened, bad thing happened, or you know, and what can I learn from this? What was my soul's lesson here in this situation?
So we've got like, it's his fault, he did this, I've got this, it's their fault, I'm feeling this. Then there's this one that you just said where this happened, that happened, and it's wrong, right? Mm-hmm. Then the next viewpoint is this happened, and it's perfect.
Right. Mm-hmm.
How can we move forwards from this? How can we learn from this? And the learning is, how did it make me feel at that moment in time? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is deep stuff, man.
Right.
But this is going from 3D, he hit me, it's his fault, to lower fourth, which is, oh, wow, you know, it's wrong, it's not right, it's his fault. What can I learn from this? And then upper fourth, lower fifth is, okay, so we've co-created this. And then we become mirrors for each other. So if someone turns around and says, oh, I'm just your mirror brother, then that's fine, because I'm just your mirror brother too.
Right.
So you can't have, I'm just a mirror, because we're mirroring each other all of the time. So control. So that was about trying to control our environment to keep us safe, right? So we've got little layers of control, and then we've got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger layers of control. So if we control the humans, we're going to save the planet. If we stop them consuming plastic, the oceans will be all right. If we stop producing plastic, the next thing is, why are we here at this moment in time? And for me, it's really simple, right? This is evolution. We're here to evolve. We're doing our little bit, evolving out loud on our show, right? So we're doing what we can to explore and kind of expose ourselves and be vulnerable and be out there for criticism. That's fine. If people don't agree with what I'm saying, that's fine. I don't need you to agree. Just allow the possibility. Allow the possibility. Because remember, when something's black and white, you're in duality, right? Black, white. So black absorbs all of the colors. White reflects all of the colors. Black and white. So we're in duality. That's really dense 3D duality. So we're coming out of duality now. We're coming out of duality back to unity. What does unity look like? I have no idea, but I'm guessing unity is going to be about accepting responsibility, right? It's going to be about, wow, this is an interesting co-creation. I wonder why we needed to create this experience.
Right.
And that's really high consciousness when we can step out of the victim, the perpetrator, aggressor, whatever, victim, when we can step out of that and look at it from a higher consciousness level, from a higher perspective, and go, okay, that's wow. So we've come together at this moment in time to experience something. But that's very empowering. It's not comfortable. The outcome might not be nice, but it's, then we get into soul contracts, right? If you believe in this stuff, if people believe in soul contracts, reincarnation, if you don't, and you just believe in duality, right and wrong, up and down, light and dark, then that's fine. That's just where you're at and how it is. And I'm not saying I'm right. This is just the point in my journey that I've come to of doing my best to look at things from a higher perspective with a higher level of consciousness. No, it doesn't mean I always do it either. It doesn't mean that I, of course I do 3D. Of course I do every day. But then sometimes I can go home in the shower, have a bath, lie in bed and go, oh, okay, how did that make me feel? What's the learning in this? How can I evolve this? And and can you do it on your own? It's hard. I've just been with a group, right, for 2 days. We just spent 2 days together, 9 of us, and the facilitator. Well, Priscilla, that was on our show before, Phil. I've just been and spent 2 days with her, and Emily was on the course as well. So that, and this is what this is what's come up from the course. We were doing the masculine and feminine, and the control that we all have to protect ourselves, to keep ourselves safe. Or so that's the kind of that's the guise of it, right? It's in the guise of we're going to keep ourselves safe, but actually what we're doing is we're controlling and manipulating everybody else so we don't have to feel our stuff, whatever our stuff is, right? Because God, if we have to actually feel, that could be horrendous.
Right.
The trauma, feeling the trauma could be, I mean, what could that be for people? You know, how might that look? How could that affect them? And if they get triggered into that trauma, how long do they stay in that trigger for?
Mhm.
And that's all ourselves, this entity as such, trying to keep itself safe. And the soul's given us every opportunity it possibly can to feel.
Right.
And right now, we've been given this massive gift of feeling. Sorry, Phil, I just noticed there's an aeroplane flying into your ear. No, it's a Boeing 747, Phil. I don't think it'll fit. that just went like that. Well, it went like that. That's my little bit of humor in with that deepness. Right, Phil, let's have a spray. What are you feeling now after all that?
No, yeah, I mean, it's great. Yeah, we can spray just, and so the time, the intensity and the time we're experiencing it's been put in our face, whether, you know, put into victimhood, victim mentality, pain, feeling control. Like, it's what we're being really shaken up right now. So maybe these players, we've talked about this before, these dark side players, that's their soul contract to wake us all up, to put us in this situation, to go, enough, like, I'm coming back into myself. I'm going to go into myself right now.
I reckon this is, it's wake up time, right? You know, this is, you know, I'm talking about I'm just talking about higher consciousness and going from 3 to lower 4th to 5th, right? This is evolution. But it's spiritual evolution. They don't talk about spiritual evolution. They're talking about physical evolution. We're talking about spiritual evolution. We're talking about spiritual war.
And if we don't shift, it's going to keep getting more and more intense. And it's not just about us. Like, we're in this collective consciousness. It's part of all of us to shift together. And yes, we can shift our own relationship to it, which is fine. And that's an evolution. And there's a mass consciousness that we're all going through. And if we can evolve, then it's our space to hold that space for everybody else. So yesterday I went and did an ice bath. I hadn't done one for a while. It's this little place. I went to a farm and I was helping out on this garden, doing some stuff. And then afterwards I went to an ice bath. I really wanted to go do this ice bath. And I got there and I was really scared and in control. And it was just like, and the facilitator was like, it's in your mind. It's not your body. It's all your mind. So I got in, I had to get back out again. It was like, I couldn't relax. I was like tense. Next time I got in for a little bit more, I got in, like, in body. I was like, I got to get out. Third time it clicked and I got in. I went totally into this peaceful space and totally relaxed. My breathing was calm, but it took a few times to go, I got to surrender here. But when I surrendered, it was so peaceful. You know, my body just went into peace, and that was it. You know, it's like, because I was controlling. It's like, oh my God, it's been ice, it's cold, and I don't want to let go. And it's like, when I let go, it was really beautiful. So, yeah.
So let's do another spray then, Phil. That was
Do it.
That was Earth Dragon. I'm now going to give us Air Dragon. How was that?
That brought me into my heart energy. It was nice.
Felt that.
It hit head and then it came down into my heart. It was interesting.
Yeah, so let's do then. Do you want to do a little process then, Phil, on this fear?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't fear. What was it you said? Right at the beginning, what were you talking about?
Helplessness.
Helplessness.
Is that the one?
Yeah, that was the one. Look, I've got no tea left, so that's the end of that. So let's do. So we're going to. Have you done EFT before, Phil?
Yeah.
Right. Let's do this. We're going to do EFT and color.
Okay.
Right. So tapping on the palm of your hand.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can hear you.
There's no weird noise.
No.
Okay. Zoom's phasing it out. That's fine then.
Okay. So I'm going to start tapping here. And I'm going to set you up a little bit and then you can carry on. So underneath here, Phil. No.
This side.
There. On your karate chop. Yeah, perfect there. So we're going to start with something like, even though. Repeat after me.
I feel helpless.
So even though I feel helpless.
Even though I feel helpless.
And I'm experiencing lots of helplessness.
Experiencing helplessness.
What else comes with it, Phil? This helplessness.
Fear. Yeah, fear, sadness, helplessness, fear, sadness.
Okay, even though I'm feeling all of this helplessness.
Feeling all of this helplessness.
And fear.
And
sadness.
I
deeply and completely. Love and honor myself anyway. Okay, tapping on the crown of the head. And then down to here. Helplessness.
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 Helplessness. Helplessness. Phil.
Helplessness. You want me to say it?
Yeah. Helpless. Yeah, but you're the one that's doing it. I'm just taking you through it. Helplessness. Okay. So I reckon you were triggered there. Let's have a little spray. We're going to have Oriole. So I get the sense that you were triggered. Right, Oriole, Phil, you ready? Don't take life so seriously. Get out and have some more fun. Okay, let's go back to that. Let's go back to the bottom of the chin, Phil, with helplessness.
Helplessness.
Down to here, helplessness.
Helplessness.
Okay, helplessness.
Helplessness.
And I always do this bit here, helplessness. Yeah. And then the thumb, helplessness.
Thumb.
Yeah, helplessness. Next finger, helplessness.
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 Helpless.
Okay, so there you go. So what you're feeling now around that helplessness, what's come up? Keep tapping this point here. Where are you feeling helplessness in your body?
I was just like, it got to a place of ridiculousness, how silly it is.
Okay, so where's ridiculousness in your body?
It's in my head kind of thing, I think.
Okay, brilliant. So you've got ridiculousness in your head. So even though I've got all this ridiculousness in my head.
All this ridiculousness in my head.
I love and accept.
And
honor myself anyway. So all this ridiculousness. In my head. It's in my head. All this ridiculousness. It's in my head.
And my heart and my shoulders.
What about your head?
And my head, all of them.
So you've kind of got ridiculousness everywhere then. You're full of ridiculousness.
Yeah, I am.
Even though I'm full of ridiculousness.
We picked the two craziest words, didn't we?
I love and honor myself anyway.
I love and honor myself anyway.
This ridiculousness. Let's do a round with this then, Phil. ridiculousness,
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 all this ridiculousness,
all this ridiculousness,
all this ridiculousness.
all this ridiculousness
It's in my head.
in my head.
But is it?
No,
Repeat after me, but is it?
but is it?
Is it really?
Is it really?
All this ridiculousness in my head.
All this ridiculousness in my head.
Maybe it's not in my head.
Maybe it's not in my head.
Maybe it's from somewhere else.
Maybe it's somewhere else.
Nah, it's all in my head. It's all mine.
It's all mine in my head.
It's all mine. All this ridiculousness is all mine.
All this ridiculousness, it's all mine.
I project out onto the world
I project onto the world
and judge people for being ridiculous
and judge people for being ridiculous.
and judge myself.
Judge myself.
All this self-judgment
All this self-judgment
around ridiculousness,
around ridiculousness,
which makes me feel helpless.
which makes me feel helpless.
Is that true? Is that true? Is all this ridiculousness making you feel helpless?
Yes.
That's a head thing. Feel it. Feel it.
I
Feel
know
that.
it's not. I know it's a no. Like my heart says no, but my head says yes.
Right. So let's go with your feeling, not your control center, right?
Mhm.
So the yes is control, the no is feeling.
Right.
Okay. How does the helplessness feel now?
Yeah, it's a lot calmer.
A lot calmer. Cool.
Yeah.
How about the ridiculousness?
Same.
What, the same as it was, or calmer?
Calmer. It's down in intensity. So
Okay. What color spray do you want?
red.
Probably the only color we haven't got.
Yellow.
Ruby red. We've got it. Ruby red. So I'll show you that little bit in the bottom of the bottle.
Little bit.
Another one.
Just enough.
Ruby red.
Definitely feel more peaceful now. It's nice.
So you see with the tapping and the color how we've just taken the edge off of it. You know, there's more to do on that to get that down to a 0 and to move into something else, but that just gives you a little bit of peacefulness, and you can just take the edge off of it, can't you?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So do you see there where you kind of went from your vulnerable, authentic self, which was your heart,
Mm-hmm.
and then your head, which is control.
Right.
So your head was trying to control the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
but your heart always knows the outcome. And that, you know, that's really about being in our heart and being authentic. Is coming from that place of heart choice, not from head choice. And it's head choice that causes the problems.
Right.
You got a comment, Phil, in on the YouTube here. Oh, where have I sent it to now?
Yeah, I mean, so I've known in my heart, like, of getting back to the UK, very clear, but my head is coming up with all sorts of obstacles.
Yeah.
To get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what we're doing is you're giving yourself an opportunity to clear resistance and fear.
Right.
So everything is an opportunity for us to clear
Mm-hmm.
and neutralize these feelings of helplessness, ridiculousness, the fear, the panic, trauma, whatever it is that's going on. Everything gives us an opportunity to look at. Okay, so what just came in then? Everything gives us an opportunity to look at everything from a higher perspective. I know I can hear people say, yeah, but it's all right for you. Of course it's all right for me. I've created this reality, right? And I don't mean that smugly or self-righteously. You know, I was feeling into this the other day about, you know, it is all right for me. I've been, you know, I feel very blessed to have this opportunity that I've got right now and to be in the position that I'm in. In a month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, I might not feel quite the same. But
well, let's just flip that. So you could right now choose to be like the victim because you got sick, right? You got sick, you were down for 2 or 3 weeks. And you could be like, wow, it sucks. That happened to me. Don this, Don that. You're blaming all this stuff because you were sick. But you didn't. You never framed it that way. But you were pretty weak and beat up and
I was really quite poorly actually.
But you and I, we talked like without the show, and you were always positive about it, even though you were feeling like crap. You were like, well, it's just what I'm going through. You know, you never once were like, I'm the victim that something got me and made me sick. You were just like, okay, this is what I'm experiencing right now.
You know, and at the moment I'm doing these bottles which I shared with you before, Phil, called GA. I think we talked about it a bit on the
Mm-hmm.
when Emily was on. And GA is actually what we call a conspiracy bottle. So it's all about dark. It brings up our deepest, darkest kind of traumas, so our body can release them. And of course, how does that manifest?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? How does our deepest, darkest traumas manifest? Well, after I was doing that work, I manifested being ill,
right.
which some people would say was the virus. Might have been, might not have been. Did I take a test? No. Why? Because I think they're crap. Am I interested? Maybe, but then I could get a blood test done to see if I've got antibodies. And if I've got antibodies, then that's really good news. And if I haven't,
but even that, you're not playing any of those games. You're just like, well, I got sick and I moved through it. And it was something I needed to experience.
Because for me, even on the first night that I was sick, I was in my van in a field on my own, and it was a really, really unpleasant experience. I mean, I woke up in the morning and cried because I felt so bad.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I really experienced loneliness.
Mm.
You know, that took me to a point of, God, imagine what old people go through.
Mm.
Imagine people that have lost their wife, they've lost their husband, they've lost their brother or sister, they live on their own, you know, and they're elderly and they're a bit infirm, and something like that happens to them then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's bad enough for me, and I'm relatively young and healthy. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, wow, you know, what would they experience? So my heart really went out to
right,
certainly to the elderly and the more infirm of us. And then, you know, my mind went to my mate that's got 4 kids and a partner, and he has to go to work. And it's like, wow, how does he cope? Mm-hmm. But of course, the answer is he would take pharmaceutical drugs to suppress the symptoms, so he would feel okay and he could go to work. Whereas I didn't take anything I didn't even take high dose vitamin C. Mm-hmm. Because what I wanted to do was allow whatever was coming out of my body to come out.
Right.
Was it a virus? Was it the evolutionary path? I don't know. You know, what do I know? All I know is that I got sick,
Mhm.
but it didn't feel like that to me. So that's the reason why I didn't go into a victim. It felt to me like I was clearing out.
Right.
It felt to me like I was being upgraded.
Yeah. And I think we know that experience, you know, because we've been doing detox for a long time and cleansing. So we kind of know a little bit of that. Whereas other people maybe, you know, don't know what that experience is. And it's like, well, I got sick and it happened to me. Whereas we was going, well, we know that, you know, sickness is some level of toxicity coming out of the body. So
it's all about the terrain, right? And so I was interested. The first day I got sick, you know, I phoned my sister and she's like, why don't you come home? I'm like, I can't come home. I can't go back to mum and dad's. I, you know, I can't really come to your house. I can't go home because, you know, I've got this, I'm sick and I don't want to give it to anyone. Then I phoned my mum up and told her what was going on. And she said, oh, just come home. And I was like, mum, who knows what I've got or what's going on? But I feel okay. And actually, it feels okay for me to come home.
Mhm.
And she was
Good.
like, yeah, well, I feel it is too. And I spoke to my sister again and she's like, yeah, it feels fine to me. So I drove home with my elderly parents that have both got health conditions, which people would say was completely selfish or inappropriate or whatever, but they were both up for it, right? Came home. I did keep my distance, of course I did, because I didn't know what was going on, right? They've been absolutely amazingly fine.
Right.
Amazing. So how can I have a highly contagious, deadly thingy and no one else around me get it?
Right. Because it's not that. It's not
It can't
that
be, can
story.
it?
That story is not correct.
It can't be that. It cannot
No.
be that. So because I felt into it, right? I felt in and went, is it okay for me to go to mum and dad? Is it okay? You know, so I felt into it. No one else I knew got sick.
Right.
So that's it. I mean, I didn't go out. I went home. I didn't go out anywhere. I was too bloody ill. I just went to bed and stayed there.
Right.
Apart from doing my, you know, juicing. I mean, so that was the main thing that I did. Well, we spoke in the show about this anyway. Is I juiced.
Mhm.
I juiced, and then when I got a bit stronger, I messaged you, and you're like, "Yeah, take these herbs." So I already had them in the cupboard. I already had adrenal tonics and kidney tonics in the cupboard, so I just remembered to add them in. You know, I put them in juice and drank them. But I didn't do any high dose vitamin C. I took some vitamin D, but I didn't do high dose anything because I wanted my body because it felt like transformation.
Mhm.
I could feel this light at the end of that very dark, painful tunnel that was just like, Phil, this is really good. You need to go through this. It's going to be okay. So I didn't control it, which is, again, this is what you picked up on, wasn't it? But what I did do was phone my mum's homeopath.
Mhm.
Say, hey, I've got this going on. Can you do something to help me? So, of course, I took homeopathy, which it changes it. You know, it just energetically it matches it, and then it takes those feelings and experiences, as opposed to suppressing them. It lifts the pattern out of the body.
Right.
And you know, if I'd have taken pharmaceuticals, I reckon 3 or 4 days I'd have been fine, because I would have suppressed all the symptoms and I'd have got over it, right? But again, I'm in a very privileged position that I don't have to do that. And I recognize that. I recognize the lifestyle that I've created.
Mhm.
I haven't got an abundance of money, but I have the ability to be able to process
Mhm.
and do processes. Have you frozen, Phil?
No, I'm
Oh.
like, you're a lot of sharing today. It's beautiful. I'm enjoying listening to you.
It's because, yeah, I've just done 2 days of unraveling.
It's the Phil Process show today. I love it. And I'm getting
Yeah.
benefit just listening to you, of course. So it's really wonderful.
Well, it feels at the moment like I've kind of come to the end of that. So,
Right.
if you want to carry on, Phil, interesting. YouTube's
Yes.
gone.
What happened?
An error occurred. Please try again later.
Oh, it was on though, right?
It was on, yeah. And it still says we're live,
Mm-hmm.
but it says an error has occurred. So that's an interesting one with what we're talking about.
Well, on YouTube it says that?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one.
Let's see. Let me just see, because I got notification. I'm just gonna disappear for a second. Watch the Phil and Phil show live. Let's go to this. No, it's still live.
Oh, okay. There must just be an error on my end then, Phil.
Oh, there, yes, Tim. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, tribe. Ourselves ears. I don't know what he's saying.
No, and then I went to write, hi, Tim. And then it got disconnected.
Right.
And then I can't see where to go to.
Just refresh it.
I can't.
Yeah. Well, I think we explored the topic. I'm not really sure where else to take it. So it was perfect.
Brilliant. So, what's come up for you this week then, Phil? Apart from your helplessness and ridiculousness.
Ridiculous. You want me to do more processing? Huh?
No, not necessarily more processing. Just someone just asked if we're still on the show, so I'm going to put yes. No, it didn't necessarily mean emotionally what had come up.
Well, but it is. What else is there?
Yeah, you might well scratch your head, mate.
Yeah, I'm going through highs and lows. Like, so, I'm in my job and I want to step into a new life, but I'm like, I still need to do this right now. But it feels like I need to do this right now. So, so you like to put me on the spot. You're always talking, and then you put Phil on the spot to process his crap on the live show. Thanks.
Isn't there anything you want to talk about? I didn't say, oh, let's do a process.
Holy Bye.
What colour spray do you want, Phil?
do the grounding through the magical crystal in the earth thing.
Oh, Rainbow Star, Earth Star Rainbow Dragon. Okay, so I'm going to spray this Earth Star Rainbow Dragon. So it's a coppery colour because it's related to Earth. Are you ready, Phil? So I'm going to spray it and then I'm going to tell you what to do with it.
Okay, and then we'll talk about my heart.
Okay, so how does your heart feel now?
Caged.
Okay, now let's do this exercise and see how it feels afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what I've been feeling this week. Is like it feels like there's a wall around the heart, and I keep getting these feelings that there's a message there, but I don't know what it is. And I'm like, why am I feeling this kind of energy in my heart, and I don't know what the message is? And it's like, and then I'm just like, well, it must be just all walled off, and I can't get to it. He's trying to tell me something.
Okay, let's do a spray. Then, if you want, do you want to come back to that?
Sure.
Okay. Got all brave now, look. Right, you ready? Oh, this is a jet, man. That means we really need it. Okay, I'm breathing and blowing. Okay, receive that in through your third eye. Take it in down to your heart and wash your heart in that film. And when you're done, take it down through your body, out through your root chakra, down into the ground. And about 2 feet beneath the ground, you've got your earth star. See that there, however it turns up for you. Wrap that energy around it and then tighten that energy up to get you down firmly to the ground. Tighten it up. Gently, gently, gently. Tighten it up until you feel that real nice tautness and feel connected to the earth. And then when you're ready, you'll see there's a beautiful silver blue light energy that's been created around that soul star, the earth star. And you're going to bring that blue silver energy to cut through that crap so you can feel safe, and you're going to bring it back up to your heart, and you're going to bathe your heart in this blue silver spray. And then when you're ready, bring your consciousness back firmly in your body and open your eyes.
I can't get in my heart. It's blocked. So I feel a light come into my third eye, feels great, comes down to my body. The heart, it's just like, it's really blocked. And then it goes down, it can go into the earth and do all that. But it's like, there's a lot of blockages. I can't, it's just.
So
it's
are they
protected? I think it's shelled off, protecting itself.
So are they the energies around your heart that are blocking it, Phil? Just tap on your karate chop again. Just tap on your karate chop. Those energies that are around your heart that are encaging it and making it feel caged up. Are they your energies?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
No.
Right.
It's probably a mix then, right?
No, I don't think so. So could it be possible that those energies have been placed there by something or someone else?
Maybe.
Okay, allow that possibility. Oh, this is serious.
I don't know. I think I've created that wall.
So
to
you
protect
think
me.
So you think you've created that wall to protect you?
Yeah.
Feel into it. Ask that wall, have I created you?
Yes and no.
Okay, so if it's a yes and no, who else might have created you?
Who else?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's only me, right? Like, how can it be something outside of me?
Well, because if you've given your power away with through controlling things, then you're allowing other energies to come into your body.
Okay, that makes sense now.
So might that thing around your heart be another energy that's come into your body?
But I allowed it in.
So you're getting a sense that you've actually allowed the energy in as opposed to creating it.
I'm thinking, hang on. Yeah.
Okay, so
I think I left myself opened up, and vulnerable to the energies, feeling empathy. And then so that being open in my heart, which I generally am, it then came in and then I locked it up, kind of thing. So
wow, what I would suggest is, Phil, if you were open in your heart, the energy wouldn't come in, because if you were open in your heart, you'd be in your power.
Mm-hmm.
And then the energy can't come in. So the energy can only come in when your heart's closed and you've given your power away.
Right.
When your heart's open, you're empowered, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't be empowered with a closed heart. It doesn't work.
So my head is in control then, and telling my heart what to do.
So, well, your head's in control, telling you what you think you should do.
Right.
And if you're in your head, then you're not in your heart. So therefore energies can come in. So the dialogue with the energy is, I think I get the sense here that you need to send that energy love. So you need to get into dialogue with that energy in your heart. And all of it, all of us we just want to be loved. We just want to experience love. That's all that's all we're craving for, is to be loved, acknowledged and heard, right? So the energy around your heart, it wants to be loved, acknowledged and heard. Do you need another spray, Phil?
Yeah.
What color?
Yellow.
Closest I've got to yellow is metal. So let's have a spray of that. Okay. So this energy field, can you communicate with it and tell it that it's loved?
Yes.
Okay, cool. How has it responded?
It receives it.
Okay.
But it's still pretty tight. So
yeah. So what's the energy saying to you, Phil?
That's the thing, I have a hard time knowing what it's telling me. So I get this feeling a lot, but I'm just like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me. So then I work to listen and I can't figure it out. So then I give up.
Okay. So if you were to guess what this energy wants to say to you, what would you guess it would say?
Live.
Live.
Yeah.
Amazing. So that energy wants you to live. That's really cool. So you sent it love, and you realize that actually that energy, what it wants you to do is live. So can you receive that, Phil? It's time to live.
So yes. And the head wants to say lots of reasons why we can't. So
yep. So
yeah.
Forget that. You're in control. You're the driver of this vehicle. So we're.
How come I'm always the guy on the receiving end of this therapy?
I don't know, actually, Phil. Because you kind of just asked for it.
I do, don't I? That's all right. Just put myself on the spot.
So we can just stop that there if you'd like, and then
No, it's fine. I'm just like, it's just fascinating.
so and you're always up for it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So this energy around your heart that came in when you gave your power away is saying it's messages for you to live.
Hmm.
So now it's told you that message. Can you let it go?
I don't know.
Okay. I think I'm going to give you this spray, Phil, and then it's time to stop that process for now.
Okay.
That was air, so we can cut through.
Okay.
It's kind of tricky, really, doing a process like this live on the internet to really get into it. You know, it's something.
We did pretty good. We're doing better doing this live. I mean, we did it like early on where stuff came up for me, and I was very reserved, and I couldn't process it. So, but today we did good.
Amazing, Phil.
Yeah. And that's life, right? That's it. It's showing up in the moment, whatever it is. So
It's showing up in the moment, doing the best we can, keeping on showing up.
mm-hmm.
You know, even if there's no one watching, we show up like we're being seen by the whole world, right?
Mm-hmm. So I had an interesting experience this week. This is in, I think it's in topic. I just popped in my head. So I showed you that crystal that I got, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's what. Yeah,
somebody gave me this, right? So here's the experience. So we have I have to say this in a non-disclosure way. We have there's a customer that we make product for. So and this thing came up. We needed to get them to sign some terms and conditions document. And this customer got really upset, and I was just like, and I went into like this fire dragon. I was just like I blew up in a way, but it was like I was like it was interesting. I felt like I was in strong power, but I was just like, we've done these things, and I was kind of upset. And then the end of the conversation, the customer apologized to me, then sends me a card and this gift, and it's like, yeah, I was really out of balance. Like, it wasn't in gratitude, but I had to blow up, like I had to come into this energy. It was like I was like shaking a little bit afterwards, but it didn't feel negative. It just like was like it was supposed to happen. I was supposed to just be like, enough, like stop, like, and that, I don't know what that was about, but it was an interesting experience this week. And then so the guy like sends me this fossil and this long letter, like, I really appreciate you. I'm sorry I was unkind. I will do better. You're an amazing person. Like all of this stuff. It's like, oh, okay.
So your reality reflection showed you what you thought of yourself.
In what do you mean? Like in this part, like
all of it.
All of it.
So there was an aspect of you going blah 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 blah, and you went, enough.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'm done with that now.
Mm-hmm.
So you took all of your power back, and then the universe showed you the other aspect of yourself, which is you're amazing. I'm grateful to you. You're beautiful. You do a great job. You're fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Great creation, Phil.
It wasn't really, really. I was just like, what the heck happened there? Like, because I was thought when I was on the phone, he was just like, I'm sorry. I was like, he's just backing down. But then he sends me a text, and then he's like sends me a card. And it's like, oh, okay. So, sometimes you need to step into like a step into a strong space where you just like, enough. And are you saying it to the other person? Like you said, you reframed it beautifully in our conversation. You know, I was saying it to myself. Enough of playing that game. I'm done with that game that we were playing for years.
So if you look at it, he gave you the opportunity.
Right.
So you gave yourself the opportunity to say enough nonsense. I'm not doing that anymore. And then, so what I'm saying is, if we're looking at everything as a reality reflection,
right?
So on the one hand, this is how we treat us, right? So he did this to me, he did that to me, he did the other to me, right? That's victim. I stood in my power. He was nice to me. So that's then giving him the power. So if we use it all as a reality reflection, he showed you that aspect of nonsense that you do to yourself. You know, that the monkey mind, inner chatter. So he was showing you the monkey mind, inner chatter, all of the how you run yourself down, belittle yourself, whatever. And then it's like you then went, no, enough. Enough, stop it. And then he showed you the other side, which was your good. So you see, we never say, oh, he did that to me.
Right.
He made me feel amazing. He made me feel valued. People don't say that.
Right.
They just focus on the negative. And then they own the value.
Right.
They own the value. Because you're not gonna so you could phone him up and say, actually, I'm not taking this, I'm not having you rude to me, I'm not doing that. So we're not dealing with you anymore, right? That's control.
Right.
And then the other side is they're nice to you. So you go, oh, that customer's really nice to me. We'll have them. So if we see it as both the mirror, so that's me being horrible to me, and that's me telling me how amazing I am.
Well, he could have reacted differently. It shows his spiritual evolution to react in the way he did, to go, oh, he needed to reflect back and go, wait a minute, maybe I was out of balance. But it took me standing up just for him to realize that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Like play.
It's all a play.
Yeah.
You needed to see how to take your power back.
Yeah.
And once you took your power back, he then stood into his power.
Yeah.
So your reality of reflection back was you standing in your power.
Yeah.
And from that, actually, when you're in your heart power, the only thing that comes from that is beautiful experiences.
Yeah.
Because if you'd have stood in your ego power, that wouldn't have been a pretty ending.
Right.
But you clearly stood in your heart power because you got a beautiful ending. Beautiful ending, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what closure you got?
What's that?
What closure you got?
Yeah, exactly. It was just okay, that was good. Yeah.
You got a beautiful letter. You got a beautiful gift. Amazing.
Yeah. All right.
I get the sense that you get that's the end of
the show today.
That's the end of the show today. So guys, thank you so much for persevering with us and coming on this journey, because it feels like it's been a real journey today through exploration. Because this is it's kind of what Phil asked for just before we were starting. So it's kind of where we went to, isn't it? So yeah, so thanks for persevering, thanks for hanging out. Thanks of those of you for wanting to be challenged, challenge our beliefs, our perceptions, how we view things. So on my end note, I'm going to say, remember, I create it all. So I'm Phil,
And I'm Phil.
and this has been another fabulous episode of the Phil and Phil Show.
And we love you so much for sharing this journey with us. And just thank you. Thank you for allowing the space so we could evolve out loud. Check out our website, philandphil.com. Make a beautiful donation, support our work, support what we do so we can keep evolving. And we bless you with the most beautiful week filled with joy and love.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.